And our second main topic for today comes to us from Mementoludi. They said multiplayer games on Stadia are great, and they come with some cool features like player equality, basically everybody having the same setup, stable connections inside the data center, and cheat protection. It's hard to cheat on a video stream. Google is pushing developers to add crossplay to their games, but basically that nullifies all of the benefits. I love crossplay, but is this the right choice? Is there another way? So Memento, thank you very much for the question, for the topic. I think that this is a really, really good topic, and I don't think that there's a right answer for this particular topic. Well, I think there is what's the best answer that we can get, but I don't know that that is the right answer. So before I get to my answer on this, let's talk about the pros and cons of both sides. The pros, which you definitely pointed out, of having the having it be in the cloud, are that people can't cheat, that everybody basically has the same connection, and really, if you have a bad connection, then you have pixel is a artifacting. That's the right word. You have artifacting on your screen rather than having a bunch of lag, where rubber banding or people disappearing and appearing someplace else. Like, that's the kind of thing that you don't see on Stadia. You might see a bunch of artifacting because your connection isn't all that great, but basically you get to see what everybody else sees. And then, of course, it makes it really hard for people to cheat because there's no actual software on their computer. They're just watching a video of their own gameplay, which is really weird and meta in a way. So that's a huge advantage to cloud gaming. The disadvantage to cloud gaming right now, at this point in time, like in January of 2021, the disadvantage is that not a lot of people have signed on yet. So we have a pretty small user base on Google Stadia. And because we have such a small user base, when you're talking about multiplayer games, sometimes it can be difficult to find an actual multiplayer session. Like, I've heard, I haven't played this game myself because I'm really not that big of a sports fan, but I've seen a lot of people in our live chats talking about games like NBA 2K or NBA 2K21, where, well, I don't know about 2K21, but the basketball game that came out when Stadia first came out. I don't know if there's a new one since or not off the top of my head, but I saw a lot of people complaining that they couldn't find anybody to play with in playground mode, which I think is, they've got a bunch of courts and you can go and play against somebody, which is really, really cool, unless you can't find anybody to play with. The same can be said for like Grid. Before Grid was a pro game, I think it's Grid. Yeah, Grid, which is a sim racing game. Before Grid was a pro game, like, nobody was doing these huge 40-car races that people were really hoping for. Like, that was one of the huge advantages to playing Grid on Stadia, was that you could have 40 cars on the track at the same time. The other consoles couldn't handle that kind of thing. But it was hard to find 40 people all at once to play a race together. And look, as somebody who's played World of Warcraft back in vanilla, when the raids were 40 people, I can attest to you that even in a very highly populated game, it's tough to find 40 people who want to do something at the same time. That is, of course, unless it is the kind of thing like Fortnite, or like Battle Royales don't seem to have this problem because their populations are so big and they're free. But when you're talking about a game that's not free, on a platform that not a lot of people have adopted, it's difficult to amass a large enough group of people to make sure that you can always get a match whenever you want. So the huge disadvantage to cloud gaming, like I said, in January of 2021 and last year, of course, is the fact that you just don't have enough people to play with. So when a game launches, a lot of people say, well, if I want to play it on Stadia, then I'm not going to have anybody to play with. So I'm not going to play it on Stadia. And that's the self-fulfilling prophecy, basically. Like, it's circular logic. It's not going to be a good experience because there's not enough people on that platform. So I'm not going to play it on that platform, therefore making sure that it is a bad experience. So, you know, the solution is for them to make sure that we can play with people who are on other platforms. Now, that kind of takes away a lot of the great things that Mementoludi was talking about. The fact that everybody has a similar connection, the fact that everybody's on the same hardware and experiencing the game the same way, basically leveling the playing field so that nobody really has an advantage over anybody else. And for that to get taken away, I think is a bad thing. But does the pros of having people to play with outweigh the cons? And I'm not sure. It's really tough to say. You look at a game that has a very large player base. Oh, here's an example. Elder Scrolls Online has a huge player base on PC, which is pretty amazing because that game's launch was a really kind of a dumpster fire, and ZeniMax was able to turn everything around and make it really awesome. They've got a really large player base on PC. I've played the game on PS4. Player base is really small. It takes a long time to get them to, like, if you want to do a dungeon, it takes a really long time to get a dungeon on PS4 when you're comparing it to the PC. The huge bonus on Stadia is that we are cross-platform with PC for Elder Scrolls Online. So if I launch that game and I queue up for a dungeon, I can get in pretty quick because I have a large pool of players to play with. So right now, I think the best way to go about it, and for an MMO where there's only like one set of servers, you really don't have this as an option. I think crossplay is the only way to go. But when you're talking about any other kind of game, cross-platform right now is a good solution. If you also give people the option to say, you know what, I don't want cross-play. Don't match me with anybody else. Just match me with Stadia people. I think that that's also acceptable. As you move forward, I think that the downsides of gaming in the cloud and not as many, like all of those things that I talked about where less people are using it, I think all of those downsides will start to melt away. But I still want to have crossplay. You know, I spent the last console generation railing against Sony for getting in the way of crossplay. And I'm not talking about crossplay between the PlayStation and PC because I know that they were okay with that, but they were not okay with crossplay between PlayStation and other consoles. And so I don't want Stadia to, or any other cloud gaming platform like Luna. I don't want anybody to go down that route of saying, well, we're an island and you can only play with people who are on our island. So I think the best solution, in my opinion, is to have crossplay, but give players the chance to opt out of crossplay. Like don't have it be opt-in. You're automatically opted into crossplay. But if you really only want to play with people who are on Stadia, you can click a box and get rid of it. This is a really good topic for conversation, and I'm curious what everybody watching this thinks. So leave a message and let me know, what do you think? Should Stadia be an island to itself, or is crossplay the way to go, even though it takes away a lot of the advantages that Stadia has? Let me know right down below.